What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. We are out and it is like with the wind chill and all that, we're definitely feeling like we're in the 20s. But I'm headed to Northeast Disc Golf Expo this week, looking to play Maple Hill. So of course, we got to get used to the cold. Rocky Balboa time, baby. Never cold, never see him. So what's up, Rocky? How are you doing today? You having a good one? Because we're about to talk about some rules.
So catch me if I fall.
All right, now though, real talk. I mentioned that like when I try to play in the cold, I get really bad circulation. People gave me some hints and tips on getting used to it. So we're doing a couple things while we're out here filming this video today. First, we're getting used to playing in some cold weather because I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be playing Maple Hill in snow again. The guy who suggested I wear mittens instead of gloves is really backfiring on my finger usage right now, but my hands feel pretty warm. Back to second, we got some awesome discs sent to us by NSH Custom Discs. This company 3D prints discs. And when you hear 3D print, you may think like not that durable, but we're gonna be hitting some trees. Now in Vlogmas, we threw the 8472, I believe it is, Bear Bites Custom Disc. This is the pumpkin spice version. He's got a new red and black version out there now. They also sent me a Bird of Prey, which is an overstable distance driver. They sent me the Sector, which is pretty sure also an overstable somewhat distance driver, but it's got a really unique feeling rim on the inside, so excited for that one. I have a mini 8472 with, check that out, Venom printed on it. That's so sick. This is like with 3D printing available. Yeah, awesome. And then I asked them about like 3D printing a pig, and they sent me a Mr. Putt, which is their version of an overstable putt and approach disc. So excited to try these out today, and we're gonna talk about some rules because that's number 3. So what do we mean by rules? And you saw like sort of the thumbnail, things like that. This is a video for those of you who 2024 is your year to jump into tournaments, or even for those of you, let's say you're not jumping into tournaments, but these are PDGA rules that are designed to sort of help keep pace of play going, help keep competitive fairness, things like that, that you may or may not know that if you decided to ever jump into tournaments, or if you're playing with people who play in tournaments, for most tournament players I know, they try to stick with these rules pretty much all the time, even when they're playing casual rounds, so that way it keeps them on the focus, on the grind. I would say the rule that I see people most commonly step away from is like course OB. If you're playing a casual round, I have seen plenty of times where people won't play course OB just because they're like, whatever, I'm just looking to have a fun time out here. Personally, I like to learn what the OB is and play it at all times because I feel like I'm getting a good feel of the course, but once again, to you, each his own, or her own, my bad. A lot of zoom ins on the camera, I'll tone it back. We have at least 4 discs that we're trying to throw today. So we're gonna try to get a good feel of those, but we're also just gonna go over some common rules that I see people mess up, or common rules that people discuss that you should know, so that way when you step into your first tournament, if this comes up, you're gonna be in the know. Now, as a quick caveat, of course, we've gotta mention that there is a PDGA rule book. So if you're watching this, don't take my word as law. I'm bound to mess up one of these rules, so I'm gonna be looking in the comment section as well to make sure that if I do misstep or I say something wrong, I can be corrected in the comments. I'm not infallible. I mess up all the time. So, but there is nothing better than checking your PDGA rulebook. And if you are going to compete in tournaments, you're going to have a phone or device available to help keep score, because as of 2024, every person in a round, a PDGA sanctioned round, is going to be required to keep score. So before we even get started, you got to make sure that you have your phone charged, ready to go. In the PDGA live scoring app, it looks like the icon right here actually has access to the entire rule book right there. You can search specific examples and everything. Makes it super easy. So that way, even if you end up in a situation that I don't know what to do, the rules are right there. Okay, so first throws of the day. We're gonna get used to this. I think they make understable discs. I think that that's possible, but the ones that I have gotten a hold of are all overstable options. So we're gonna be throwing a lot of hyzers, weird stuff today. Here we go. Starting off with the Sector, and we'll talk about discs. Oh yeah, okay. Felt really good, I like that. Rocky Balboa time. Get the feet, get the feeling going to the hands. Here we go. Birds of Prey, or Bird of Prey, overstable distance driver. We're like really far past it, but so Amage didn't deceive us, but really thought we were gonna ring that up here for a second. Okay. 8472, I don't expect to actually be able to get this there. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, And last but not least, Mr. Putt. And that's gonna bring us to when you're prepping for tournaments. One of the first things, if you're gonna play tournaments, that a lot of people don't do is having a custom mark on their disc. Because if, let's say, I get out there and I have this Mr. Putt, and it looks like this, you may think, oh, this is custom enough, but what if we had these available for people if you were interested in that? Then people could go get their own Mr. Putt, and they could have the same exact colors as this. So if we both land right next to each other, how are we supposed to know whose is whose? We're not misplaying. So according to PDJ rules, every single disc that you should throw should have some mark on it that distinguishes it from others. For lots of people, they're gonna do a signature, write your name, write your number, things like that. That totally counts, but doesn't have to be that in depth. You could quite easily just put, like for instance, on my putting putters, I put 4 dots in the middle of the putter on the bottom. Ezra and Brody, they actually, because they'll have like 2 Raptors that are the same color, they'll just take a Sharpie and just go shoop and just write a line across the top. Even if they didn't sign it or anything like that, that line going across actually is a distinguishing mark and counts towards separating it. And that's why if you ever hear Ezra or them, they'll say like, oh, it's a line Raptor. Brody said that when I caddied for him. That's what he means, is it's not the Raptor that is the green Raptor that goes there. It's the green Raptor that has a line. Okay, so you are overstable. Sick. All right, cool. Mini time. So here's the thing about minis and mini markers. If you're gonna play in PGA sanctioned events, you probably need to have, and by probably, you're required to have a mini marker. Now, mini markers come in a variety of sizes and things like that. I think I mentioned in a video like over a year ago that if you don't have enough discs, you can use one of your discs in your bag as a marker. And I'm pretty sure we disproved that. Like, that's actually not true. So, mini markers come traditional sizes, which would be more like this one on the left, this little smaller one. And then they also have XL minis, which would be like an XL Buzz, an XL Tesla, things like that, which is much more of what this like 8472, like 8471, whatever remix or the larger one is. So this is about as big as a standard mini can come. And when you're marking the disc, you can either mark it in front of the disc or you can mark it behind the disc, and you're gonna pick the disc up that you're throwing, especially if you wanna throw that disc again. So once I place it and mark it down, that's where I need to know that if this is my mini marker, behind it, there is a sheet of paper, and that is my lie, this sheet of paper. So some part of my foot, when I release the disc, needs to be in contact inside of this sheet of paper behind the mini. If I don't choose to use a mini, that sheet of paper just exists behind the disc. Sheet of paper is always what you're looking for. And like I said, your whole foot doesn't have to be in there. Just some supporting part of your foot has to be inside that sheet of paper. Now, the biggest reason that you have to have a mini marker, because you could play an entire round without actually marking any of your discs in the fairways or even on the greens like that. But if your disc does go out of bounds, when you remark your position and you walk it in from the OB line, which when you go out of bounds, you get 1 meter or 3 steps, 3 feet. And in those circumstances, when you mark your line, you can't use the disc to do it. You have to actually place it down. Also, we have the Texas flip or whatever, depending on what set you're in, you all call this, but a lot of people, when they'll walk up, they'll grab the disc when it's on the ground and they'll flip it over, and that'll be their lie. Can't do that during a tournament. Have to actually mark it if you want to advance. If you want where this would be, you mark the front of the disc. You can't flip it over. Here's a great example of, I've got Mr. Putt on the ground and I want to putt with Mr. Putt. So I'm going to pull a mini marker out. I'm going to place it down on the ground, pick up Mr. Putt, and I got to establish my foot behind the lie. And this is where we get to in the circle putting, which the circle is the 33 feet or 10 meters outside of the basket. So this extends all the way around, even if there's trees, water, lake in the way, whatever that may be. Whenever I'm inside the circle, I really should have brought sunglasses because that sun is so bright, dude. So right here, I missed that putt. When I'm inside the circle, I'll see lots of people in casual rounds, they'll pick up this putter like this and they'll go, all right, sick. They'll just kind of walk it in, or they get really close and they really want to make it. So they're right here and they're like, whoo, got it. If you're inside of this circle, the 33 feet surrounding the basket, whenever you throw your putt, you have to demonstrate balance before you move forward. If I would have in that instance thrown the putt and fallen forward, it's technically a foot fault. And what ends up happening is I have to either, probably definitely should have looked this one up, but it's a foot fault. So once the card agrees on it, taking a 1-stroke penalty for throwing that putt. So not only usually, even if I make the putt, I'm still gonna take the penalty on top of it. But if I throw a shot like that and I still miss the putt, double whammy, because I'm gonna miss the putt, I'm gonna take the stroke for missing the putt, but also I'm gonna get a penalty. Now, next rule that's important. How much time do I have when I go to throw the disc? I'm not gonna throw it from these tee pads. These tee pads are trash. Basket is tucked, really, there's this tree like right here. It's tucked right behind it. You're gonna see one way off in the distance there. That's not it. So how long do I get to throw? I know that's one thing, especially in casual rounds, that you may not be used to. In a sanctioned event, I get 30 seconds to throw. After that 30 seconds, I'm incurring a courtesy violation or a delay of time. I don't know what the technical thing is, but I'm gonna get a penalty. That 30 seconds starts from the time that it's my turn to address the shot. So for instance, in this, I'm taking way more than 30 seconds just standing here talking to you guys. So I'd be incurring a violation. Doesn't mean that I need to like get up and just automatically rip it, but I make sure that I'm steady on top of it. Interesting, because it just kind of died out of the air. That was a lot better. Yeah, that was a lot better. Like that one. Bird of prey is really zooming. Not so sure about the sector just yet. Now, if I'm outside that circle, outside of 33 feet, I am allowed to progress. I'm allowed to progress forward and step beyond, like you saw there. Although I have to be careful because I still have to, by the time the disc is released, I have to make sure that the disc is out of my hand by the time my supporting contact behind the lie actually goes like away after it disconnects. That's where a lot of people you'll see get into snafus about step putting and things like that, is because they're trying to do this whole like doosh kind of motion and it gets real hairy real fast. On this next hole, basket sits right through that little crevice up there. There's a wide open fairway here moving to the right, but there is water in this creek going up the right side. And we're gonna be throwing a lot of shots that are gonna move left to right in order to get close to the basket, which brings into play a really important principle or rule of the lost disc. Let's say you're playing around and you lose a disc, especially in a casual round. If we're playing and you lose a disc and you're up there and we're like, I don't know, it went out, I think up there, sick, it was over there. Most often in a casual round, friends are gonna be like, yeah, we'll just spot you right there. You take the stroke or whatever, you just throw from right here, that's fine. In a PDGA sanctioned event, there are two options. Yeah, that's right, we're holding up two fingers here. Those two options when it comes to a lost disc are whether or not there is OB or hazard present, such as water being the most common example, or is there no OB there at all. If there is no OB there at all, let's say I was in fact on like the previous hole and I threw it long into the woods behind the holes. Let's say I just absolutely mushed that thing and I got it back there, but we couldn't find the disc. Well, we know that it's lost up there because we saw it go there. So where do I take the lie? Well, considering there's no OB like water or things for it to fall into back there, my lie, I actually have to go backwards and consider it's a lost disc from the last point that I know where I threw from comfortably, which in this case would be the tee box. I would be re-teeing for 3 because I would basically have to abandon that shot, come back here, take the stroke penalty for the lost disc. I'd have my throw, lost disc as if it went out of bounds and throw again. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it plays out for that scenario. In a different scenario, let's say that I'm playing on this hole and I go super high with a hyzer and it fades out into the right here and it rolls down the hill. We go down there and we can't find it. We're looking around and the water's a little dark and murky and we can't seem to find it. It's still a lost disc, but because there is the possibility that it ended up in the water and it's lost and retrieved there, the last point that we reasonably saw it was over there by the water, which means that I actually get to take my next shot. Instead of having to re-tee from back here, I get to progress forward up to where the card agrees we last saw it and take it from there. Is OB present that you could lose the disc in, or are you just losing the disc in an open field? I've actually had this rule come back to bite me in a tournament because it was a over 1,000 1,000-foot par 5 in a big wide open field. There's nothing to be done here. And I threw a big tee shot, turned it over and flexed and did its whole thing. And then it crashed out into some tall grass on the right. We couldn't find the disc. We started the timer, added 3 minutes to look for the lost disc. And I start looking around, can't find it. So I'm like, oh, we declared a lost disc. And I start making my way back to the tee pad, doing my thing. I get up there, re-tee, take the stroke penalty, throw it all the way down there. And then as the disc leaves my hand, a friend is like, oh, we found it. We found your disc. Unfortunately, I've already thrown, so we have to play the new one. I can't take the shot that's out there till we talk about provisionals. This is where I could really hurt myself with cold hands and these discs, but we're gonna go thumber here, see what we can do. Yep, that's what I thought was gonna happen. I will say for NSH customs, the nice thing about these is that they are more durable than I think you would ever give credit for a 3D printed disc. The one thing to keep in mind is because they're going for like more extreme shapes, a lot of these like edges on their rims and everything just are a little sharp. So it's something to consider. I think they're really good in warmer conditions. In these colder conditions where my hands are a bit more sensitive, the sharp edges really are rearing their ugly head. Let's see what Mr. Putt does on a forehand. Okay, that branch was so extremely rude. Basket's still right there. Let's talk provisionals. Now, the PDGA rules are supposed to be pretty straightforward, but anyone who's ever tried to take the official exam can tell you it's real confusing at times, even if we just look at the rule that we just talked about. You lost the disc in both scenarios, but because there was a water present, it changes things. That's where you're going to throw a provisional. Provisional looks pretty simple. I'm gonna grab another disc out of my bag. I'm gonna look at the card. I'm gonna blatantly say, everyone, I am throwing a provisional. So that provisional disc, I'm gonna sit there and I don't know why I'd be throwing a provisional from here based on how the holes played out, but I'm throwing the provisional. I'm gonna take that provisional disc and I'm gonna throw it. Ooh, that went down the hill. And that provisional is gonna be played out. I'm going to score the hole and play out that shot, but I'm also going to play out my standard shot as well because I need to play both. Perfect. So I would come over here and I would throw said provisional and I would play the hole till I completed it. I would take note of whatever happened here and I would mark it down on an alternate scorecard so that it exists as if it's like a real score that I took. I'm also gonna come over here and stand in the midst of these thorns and finish out the hole from my standard shot as well as the provisional. So on the scorecard, I'm going to mark whatever score I took from the Mr. Putt lie. But I've also made a note of my provisional. The reason I do this is because I'm going to go to the tournament director after the round is over, and we're going to, as a card, share the case we had this provisional. The TD gets the ultimate call on what happens there. But because I officially scored out both of them, with one of them being the provisional, I'm declaring it a provisional, so I get to throw that shot. And if that's what ends up happening, then I end up taking that score and I don't get penalized for having that error in scoring by not calling that the official shot because we didn't know the rules. So provisionals are always your friend. Make sure you're throwing provisional. All right, 150 feet up here. Got a couple more rules, and I really want you guys to head to the comment section and talk about rules that you come across that you wish more people knew when it comes to playing their first round, things like that, because I definitely think that it is something that lots of people want to know but don't necessarily know. It's just a Mr. Putt. Mr. Putt has like negative glide. Marking front of the disc. Make sure it's okay that I stagger out to the left or right, as long as when I stagger, I'm not staggering towards the basket. Think of like that circle that we talked about. If there was like a string attached to the bottom of this basket, and I could pull it out towards me. I know that somehow, lots of courses, that's how they mark the circle. But I just gotta make sure that my right foot, my off foot, or if I'm switching around, my left foot is not advanced further towards the basket than my lie allows. So I can step out to the side, I just can't step out to the side and forward on this putt, or else foot fault once again. Let's talk about relief, because I think relief is one of the more confusing areas, things like that. And we're gonna talk relief about OB and relief on unplayable lies. These right here, these are thorns. And this would be a really unfortunate place for my disc to land. No one likes having to dive into the swarm of the thorns in order to get to their lie. It's uncomfortable, causes a lot of cuts, things like that. I have to go in here and play that lie unless I want to take a penalty for relief. I can take the penalty for relief if I'm willing to give up a stroke. If this feels super uncomfortable for me, I would go in line with the basket, which is that way, and I would draw it back out of the thorns till I felt more comfortable, as long as I'm in a straight line with the basket. And then I would use my mini marker over here to mark the new position, and I would play my lie from back here. Unfortunately, I don't get to do that for free. That would cost me a stroke. So I almost have to decide, is it worth the pain and suffering to get in here and get in the thorns, or do I want the relief to throw a more comfortable shot? There is an exception to this rule though, and that is dangerous lies, AKA animals. If you're approaching your lie and there is an animal or like something alive in the way that's making it dangerous, this can range from something like bees or an anthill being on top of your lie, all the way up to if the Power Rangers and their Zords are getting in your way. Mastodon, saber-toothed tiger, Triceratops. Probably should have gone Mastodon on this one, but my bad. If your disc has landed in that hazard of some sort, there's a snake or anything else of that nature, you can take up to 5 meters back, or that's 15 steps backwards, to give yourself the relief away from that dangerous object or something like that, because nobody wants to play a full PGA sanctioned round and getting stung by a bunch of bees. Now that only pertains to animals and dangerous things of that nature. It does not pertain to the danger of, let's say, some thorns. Although inconvenient, that's just what it is. And before we dive into the last hole of the video, before we throw this, try to see, we'll throw all 4 of these, see if we can't ace hole 11. I wanna go ahead and add the preface that with all these rules, it can feel super confusing and super overwhelming, especially because in certain divisions, people are gonna be real like uptight about this. I don't think that it's a problem that people are uptight and trying to hold the rules, because truly, as one of the moderators in the Birdie fam said, if you're going to sign up for a PDGA sanctioned event, you're agreeing to play by the rules of disc golf, and we need to hold those people accountable. There are a few things that get under my skin as someone who walks with a lot of AM cards, when people are like, bro, this is MA4, you just kind of do what you want. Let's just have some fun down here. No, we need to make sure that we're following the rules, everybody's holding to the same standards, same things like that. So it can seem like a lot, but truly try to think about like the positive mentality of like, okay, these all are supposed to make sense. It's supposed to help and lean towards the advantage of the player. And that's another thing, is that you'll hear people say, oh, benefit of the doubt goes to the player. And that's probably the rule that gets misspoken the most. The benefit of the doubt going to the player is the final tiebreaker. If a card can't decide what's happening, benefit goes to the player. The goal of tournaments is to have fun, become a better player overall. Don't let the rules get in your way. Don't let the rules bog you down, but you do need to know them so that you are a balanced and fair competitive player. It's just so stable, dude. Okay, I gotta talk to NSH, and I gotta see if you guys make understable stuff, because that would be sick. Like, this is a tough, because the hyzer line's not necessarily there, so you kind of go like flexor right at it. And that was the line, just too high. Sick. Easy peasy. Oh, broke my own rule here. This was further back. That's my bad, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Hope this was helpful. Like I said, be sure to check out the comments so that you can see other rules that maybe I didn't have a chance to cover in this video, because I wanted this video to be like a medium length video, and it probably ended up being a longer one, like the 20 range. So that's my bad. Looking forward to seeing the comments, seeing the discussion. Let's keep it civil, let's keep it friendly, things like that. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you as always for tuning in. If you haven't, I'll say it today. I really appreciate that, and help if you want to hit that like and subscribe button. So the like button is free, the subscribe button is free. Neither of those like cost you anything, and it helps support the channel and what we're trying to do here. So hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the bird.